Is Jordan Poole an all-star this season? And could Kyle Kuzma play his contract out in the 202? Come on, we're going to talk about it next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Scott again. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter, introducing the Locked On Wizards daily newsletter, a one-stop shop for the ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Wizards newsletter. Tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on their regular season action with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can finish the season with strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, we got special guest, my guy, Troy Haliburton. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man.
I appreciate you having me on, Brandon. Look, I feel like after the Wizards got a big win last night in Charlotte, it's a good time to talk Wizards basketball and kind of looking ahead to the future.
Absolutely, man. So like I said, I definitely appreciate it every time you come on here and chop it up with your boy, man. Before we start, I do have a shout out. Supposed to shout my man out last night. Merrill Garrett, long-time listener and watcher of the show, man. I was supposed to shout him out last night. Very excited with JP hitting that shot. So I told him I was going to shout him out tonight real quick. So definitely shout out to my guy, Merrill Garrett, man. So moving on, like I said, lots to talk about tonight, man. Jordan Poole, is he an all-star? Kyle Kuzma, trade deadline's coming up fast. So a lot of, he's the one name amongst many names who could be dealt at the trade deadline. So we're going to start with JP13. JP13, the curious case of Jordan Poole. Let me tell you, up and down the season last year, roller coaster ride, came in focus this year, put in that work in the off season, playing at a high level. I mean, it was 5 straight games, dropping 25 plus. In your eyes, is he an all-star this season?
I think he's playing like an all-star. I don't believe that he will actually make the all-star team just because of the Wizards' win-loss record. Yeah. I think that when you look at how the the fan voting and then the coaches voting, all that, I don't think that he will actually be voted, but he is playing like an all-star caliber player for sure. And I think we have to look at what happened at the end of last season when Brian Keefe took over as the interim head coach. And he put the ball and he put Jordan Poole on the bench and basically put the ball back in his hands, allowing him to play more point guard. And so with them not signing Tyus Jones this offseason, Jordan Poole was able to come into this season and pick up where he left off last year with the ball in his hands and show that, he is a premier on the ball playmaker in the NBA.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. Last year, very up and down year. First half struggled mightily. Second half, he reverted to 6-man. He embraced the role, played well. Tyus went down with injury, took the starting point guard role and flourished. And I think a testament not only goes to JP putting that work in, because the work ethic is something that, his reputation he's had dating back to Golden State. The guy who first guy in the gym, last guy to leave. So that's one thing I've really always liked about Jordan Poole. But Brian Keefe is another testament. He gets the most out of his players. If you look at his resume of the players that he's had a hand in, developing, come on now, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, amongst many names, owe a lot of their development to Brian Keefe. So to me, I was a big catalyst for him getting the job, because that's where we're at right now, developing young talent. And if you're going to go out there and get a guy who has the resume, who, can definitely get the most out of your young guys, man. But Jordan Poole, yeah, absolutely playing at all-star level, in my opinion. I mean, he has come out, he put the work in the offseason, man. Leadership, he showed leadership early on in his senior here in DC. When Bilal Coulibaly got drafted, he was the first phone call that Bilal got. So, now you see more of him taking over the locker room, being that voice of the locker room. But he put the work in. That's what you want to see from a star player. Obviously a lot of guys go on vacation. It's all in well. Yeah, I get it. The 82 games is a long stretch, man. But I always echo this sentiment, going back to, watching the last dance with MJ and in the 98 Bulls, where, they couldn't get past the Pistons. That was the first thing they did. They got into the gym. Next day, got in the gym to work. So if you want to really get yourself to that level, you put in that work in off season. He did that, and he rallied the guys around their cause, which is, the mantra, the culture, playing hard, playing to win. So I mentioned earlier, trade deadline coming up. We know the obvious guys who are on the list. Jonas Valančiūnas is playing really good right now. These guys getting a lot of interest around the league. Malcolm Brogdon, Kyle Kuzma, another guy. Corey Kispert, with his extension kicking in, may see him, if they choose to move him, would probably be a move in the offseason. But which one of these vets you see can get the most return as far as the trade?
Well, right now, I would say that Malcolm Brogdon is probably the player that would get the most in a return, because when you look at today's NBA, the pace and space aspect of the way that a lot of teams play in today's NBA. Malcolm Brogdon is a guy who is proven to have success in a lot of different systems. He's a guy who he's not a ball stopper. He's a ball mover. He can shoot the 3-point shot. He's an adequate defender because he has size for either the 1 or 2 position. And this is a guy who is a great character guy who you wouldn't have any problems being able to add him into another team's lineup. And so I think that Malcolm Brogdon is the guy that I don't think that he may be able to get a first round pick in return. But I definitely think that he can get a high second round pick or maybe even a future first round pick, not a first round pick in this year's draft. But I think that, there are teams across the NBA who are very much showing interest in him. Yeah. And so the Wizards are in a position where they might be able to create, a very busy market for him and create a bidding war by telling players, telling the Lakers, look, if you want to make this run, you got to give up one of those picks. And so I think that Brogdon is the guy that will yield the best talent for the Wizards.
I agree with that, man. Malcolm Brogdon has shown that, the biggest thing with him is injuries, right? The availability is your best ability, they say. But when he's on the court, he produces. Former 6 Man of the Year award winner. I mean, the guy produces everywhere he goes. He's a vet. He's got ties to the DMV, former UVA guy. So he, you notice that right away when he came into DC, the leadership, really rallying around these young guys. He really bought into the process early on. Another guy that kind of bought into the process, Jonas Valančiūnas, playing good basketball right now, man. Good basketball. The Lakers, is that one name that's always kind of put out there as a potential destination. Do you think that that's the best case scenario for moving Jonas Valančiūnas? And do you see a scenario where they might hold on to him? Because there were rumors that they might hold on to him.
I believe that when Will Dawkins signed Jonas Valančiūnas to that contract this summer, I think the intention was always to create a very tradable asset, which they have done. And so, like with Jonas Valančiūnas, when you look around the landscape of today's NBA, there aren't a lot of big men who actually can go out there and produce at a level, and have a proven playoff track record. Jonas Valančiūnas is every bit of 7'1", and he can go out there. He can make he can make those jump hooks with the right hand. He can make them with the left hand. He can go out there. He can protect the rim. He can go out there and he's a master at boxing out and making sure that if he's not getting a rebound, that, somebody on his team is getting a rebound. And I think that he plays basketball in such a way that, a team like the Lakers where they have Anthony Davis, who, isn't really, too fond of playing center all the time. I think that this is a guy who can definitely come in and solidify a lot of big man rotations across the NBA. And so, like I said, I think when they signed him this offseason, I think they very much signed him to that contract that fits right into the mid-level exception that, it's very easy for a team to trade for Jonas Valančiūnas.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned it earlier, the fit with the Lakers just fits. With AD maybe reverting to the 4, I think it's a perfect fit because he's played well here in DC. I mean, the toughness. I mean, he's hard-nosed, man. I mean, that's why I always liked about Jonas Valančiūnas because he plays with a chip on his shoulder. And, he's put so much work against the Wizards over the years. It's refreshing to see him actually work for the Wizards, but
yeah.
I think that he's a guy that's definitely going to push Alex Sarr in practice. Alex Sarr, to me, a guy we're going to talk about in a little later, man, but it's a guy that if you add a little aggression, I think it's going to do wonders for his development because look, like I said, we're going to talk about Alex Sarr because I'm big on Alex Sarr, but
Alex Sarr is developing at a very fast rate. Yeah. And I think that, the way that Alex Sarr is developing may be even more incentive for the Wizards to try to cash in on JV while his value is as high as it is.
Oh, absolutely. I'm with you on that. When they signed him to that deal, it was to flip him. And then that's what I'm saying. Will Dawkins he's playing chess, not checkers, man. I mean, like I said, he's done well in my opinion. Overall, being a new GM, he really put a stamp on this franchise, really making it his team, man. So, like I said, I'm a big Will Dawkins guy. So we're gonna move on, man. We're gonna talk about, like I said, who do you look at is being the success, as far as development? Is it Brian Keefe or is the players put the work in? We're going to look at Bradley Beal with his contract situation in Phoenix. Kind of echoes a little bit about DC a little bit. And then we're going to talk about Capital One getting new duds, man. Looking forward to that. So before we talk about that, next, tonight's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25 APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. Lord, the new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, man, let's get back into this thing. So, we kind of mentioned earlier, Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly, two guys that you see them progressing and developing very rapidly. Bilal, year two. And then here's the thing with both of them, really. Coming out of the draft, both of them were deemed as, very raw offensively. But look at Bilal, looking like he's breaking out in year two. Alex Sarr, a lot of people were ready to call this man a bust after 5 summer league games. And now all of a sudden he's letting people know that, look, you need to shut your mouth now. So looking at Alex Sarr, looking at Bilal Coulibaly, and the fact that they're progressing so rapidly offensively, is it a combination of just them putting the work in, or do you see Brian Keefe kind of leaving his mark on these guys?
Yeah, I'd say that Brian Keefe is definitely leaving his mark on Bilal Coulibaly, especially because he's putting the ball in his hands a little bit more. Yeah. And so when you look at Bilal Coulibaly, his usage rate is climbing up. I think that that's something that is going to be invaluable experience for him going forward because, he's already shown those flashes on the defensive end. He's already shown those flashes as a, ancillary wing player. But, he allowing him to have the ball in his hands. And so when you look at him over his last 5 games, being able to average 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, that's the most important thing to me. The 5 assist part is the fact that he's able to not only get into a rhythm on offense and get his shot going, but he's also able to, read the defense and feed his teammates to get other people going. And so I love what Bilal Coulibaly is showing in year two. And, I think the sky's the limit for him as far as, what he can potentially be. And as far as Alex Sarr goes, like, I think that, a lot of people were very down on him after his summer league performance. And, he didn't really perform, I think, that up to his own expectations. Yeah. But what he's done and coming into the regular season is that he's really kind of tried to master the art of being a big man. I think that before he was really getting caught up in, trying to play like a guard. Like he was taking a lot more 3-point shots, taking, really trying to handle the ball on the perimeter and do things that I think that he might be able to master down the road. But right now, I think that he's got to master those big man attributes. And I think that, over his last 10 games, he's really shown that, that he's able to play down low, use his 7-foot plus wingspan, go out there and block shots, create deflections on the defensive end. And then, also I think that he's been much more prudent with his shot selection on offense, which has allowed him to be a much more efficient player.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Great minds definitely think alike, because I've been saying this over the course of all year, man, where, Alex Sarr, you see the potential. You see the potential with him. I'm with you. He's way too dependent on that jump shot. Now, if you have the shot, take it, but at 7-1, I definitely want to see him get more active in the paint. His rebounding was one area where he struggled in Australia. I think he's done well so far rebounding, but at times he does struggle with, boxing out. Defensively, where you see the rim protection, he's done well with the blocks. I mean, he's doing his thing, rim protecting, but does ball watch a lot at times when, so there's areas he definitely needs to improve on defensively, even though he's a lot more polished defensively. But offensively, I like the fact that he's versatile. I like the fact that he can stretch the floor. But at 7-1, you gotta get in that paint, man. You gotta be a well-rounded.
Gotta get in that paint, man. Like that's the biggest thing for him is just being able to be, smart with his shot selection. Like, you remember that you are 7-1, that that, if you hang around the basket, even when your teammates miss, you can get scores on putback dunks and things of that nature, or just be that release valve for when Jordan Poole or Bilal Coulibaly is driving to the basket, and they attract extra attention that they could dish it off to you, and you can finish strong at the rim. Yeah. Like I said, I think that he's been much more prudent with his shot selection, because early in the season he was coming down, jacking up, 7-8 threes a game. Yeah. It's like, I think that it's very good that he has that in his skill set. And, I think that will make him a good, valuable player, going forward in his career. But he's got to let's build down low and then work our way out.
Look, I agree 100%, man. Getting back to Bilal, I agree with your assessment on Bilal. But I think you do kind of give a little credit to Brian Keefe, because, like I said, I've seen that he gets the most out of his players. Last year taking over when Wesley Snell Jr. was promoted, and you saw that this team really got they got a reaction from him. He definitely got the most out of his roster. So, like I said, big catalyst with him getting that job, man. I think he was definitely the right guy for the job. But I think that you definitely got to give flowers to be cool. Bilal Coulibaly has put the work in, man. Adding a mid-range, the 3-point shot, he's not hesitant to take it. The confidence is high. We've seen in DC where with young players, confidence is very, very key. When their confidence is high, we saw with young players, Denny was a young player where, when his confidence was high, he was a good player. But when his confidence was low, at times he was unplayable. And, looking at Bilal, it was kind of the same, whereas when his confidence was down, he started hot this season, kind of went through a slump. And I think this, to a certain degree, the slump was a good thing for Bilal, because it allowed him to, kind of work it out himself, to work on the mechanics of the shot, to work it out, because look, that was one thing that I asked Brian Keefe. I said, how's he going to work this way out? He said, look, I've dealt with some of the best players in the NBA, and they all hit slumps. It's your ability to work your way through that. And that's what I'm saying with young players, the confidence is a really big thing. So his confidence has been high, and he's been playing at a high level. That mid-range game, man, adding that mid-range and improve ball handling. A 3-point shot, he's letting it loose, man. Right now, he's shooting about 30%, but I definitely expect, especially after the trade deadline, that I'm expecting a little around 33 to maybe 35% from three. And I think he can definitely attain that. So I'm going to go ahead and change it up real quick. We're going to go hit out west real quick. Bradley Beal, Phoenix Sun. We know that the big thing with him, we both know the big thing with him in DC was the no trade clause. And, now we have the similar situation to Phoenix. So the question for you is, how much credit do you give Will Dawkins for getting from underneath that contract? Because the Phoenix Suns right now are trying to get Jimmy Butler, but that no trade clause is coming to haunt another franchise.
Yeah, you got to give Will Dawkins, a bunch of credit, and Michael Winger too, because they came in and they had a plan in place, and I think that's the most refreshing thing about being a Wizards fan right now, is the fact that we have this sense of direction, that we know exactly where we're going. We know, like before under Tommy Shepard, where I felt like, a lot of the moves were all over the place, where they didn't make sense, and they weren't really aligned towards one common goal. And so when, what Will Dawkins has came in, he basically told it, he said, this is going to be a multiple step process. And, you got to break it down before you fortify and then build it back up. And so, but part of breaking it down was you looking at the contracts on the team, where you got a guy like Bradley Beal who's making, $50+ million a year. And he's a top 5 paid player in the NBA, but he isn't playing like an even top 30 player in the NBA. And so when you look at that level, that seesaw right there, it just does not compute. And so I think that the biggest thing that Will Dawkins was able to do was to come in and find a trade partner for Bradley Beal and get him to waive that no trade clause, and allowed the Wizards to get off to a fresh start. They ended up getting back CP3, and they were able to turn CP3 into Jordan Poole. And so now you look at a guy, you got Jordan Poole, who's younger. He's playing better than Bradley Beal right now. That looks like an overall win for the Wizards franchise. And that move was the catalyst that allowed all these other things to happen afterwards.
Oh, absolutely. Chess, not checkers, man. And that's the one thing I noticed right away. I was able to talk to both Michael Winger and Will Dawkins in the exit interviews at the duration of last season. And the one thing you get right away is they know ball. You can sit there and just chop up ball. They know ball. Like these guys, ball, it's true. It's ball is life. You got guys that live, breathe, eat basketball in the front office. And another thing, you notice right away that they have a plan. Like there's a blueprint that they said we're not going to cut corners. It's going to take a while. That we have to deconstruct, we have to evaluate, we have to, and that's why I think when you look at the scouting department, the revamped scouting department, the fact that the coaching staff is a developmental coaching staff, the fact that they're really investing money into the training facilities and certain factors, the fact that they're making culture a highlight of the rebuild, where you're instilling a culture where you playing a hard play to win. And I think that they're putting all the right pieces in the right places. This front office, man, immaculate job getting from underneath that contract, because that is not an easy contract to get out of. And and like you said, the Phoenix Suns they're learning that the hard way. So
they're definitely learning that the hard way, because that no trade clause is, shout out to Bradley Beal's agent Mark Bartelstein for getting that no trade clause. He did the best for his client, but I just don't think that he is of the caliber of a player that should have that amount of power. And so now you look at what Phoenix, they're trying to make moves, and they're kind of handcuffed by the fact that they have that contract, and that they have to really acquiesce to whatever Bradley Beal wants, because he really has the most leverage in that situation.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, to me, they've done a great job. Now, obviously, you have long ways to go until you can truly judge the front office. You got to wait till a lot of these draft picks come to fruition. But there's people out there saying, oh, Tyus Jones, all right, you walk for nothing, KP walk for nothing. But to me, here's my opinion about that, is that I'm not knocking him for that, because I think we all knew, or you should have known, that there was a likelihood that Tyus was going to walk for nothing. And the same thing KP. KP was going to walk for nothing. So the fact that we got something was something, I'm saying, I'm not going to knock them for that, because if you look at the trade or the draft game, I mean, let's be real. Bilal in year 2 breaking out, that's a testament to scouting and development. I mean, you look at Alex Sarr, you see the potential in Bub Carrington, a dog, man. Keyshawn George surprised me, because I knew he could ball coming out of the U, but I knew he's a sharpshooter, but his ability to put the ball on the floor and create, and his defense are areas where people, you look at the scouting report coming out of the draft, a lot of people didn't talk about his defense. He's a dog in the defensive end. And I like the mantra, and I like the blueprint where, they're finding the type of players that fit the system. The guys who can shoot the 3-point shot and can defend. Guys who can, are versatile. Keyshawn George, he says he looks at himself as a guard. He's 6'8". I mean, we got versatile guys. Black can play 2-3 positions. Alex Sarr, 2 positions. I mean, the versatility is the name of the game in the NBA. Being a 3-and-D player and being versatile is the name of the game. So we're going to talk about Capital One, because like I said, big news for DC, man. Capital One getting new duds, man. I think it's a really, really important deal, man, not only for the Wizards and ownership, but also for the city of DC, man. So we're going to talk about that and call it a night. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, and it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with a $250 and bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways you can pick up the dub. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score is string. Over and under is definitely the part that I love, because right now new customers can finish the season strong again with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So look, do yourself a favor. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 and bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. All right, man. Before we call it a night, let's talk about Cap One. Major deal was struck between Mara Bowser and owner Ted Leonsis. So Capital One is looking to get new duds over the course of the next 3 seasons. So how important is this deal to renovate Capital One, not only for the franchise, but for the city of DC and revitalize the area around Chinatown?
Yeah, I think it's very important for, number one, for revitalizing the area around Chinatown. Just because, ever since the pandemic, like I feel like that area has seen a lot of rough times, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that that Verizon Center, or Capital One Arena, what used to be the Verizon Center, what used to be the MCI Center, that arena was built in 1997, and so now we're looking at having one of the older arenas in professional sports. And so when you look at the fact that they're going to be putting in $500 million worth of renovations to the arena. And, I think the important thing when you look at the fact that Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was down there for that press conference, because this is going to bring forth, NBA All-Star games, NHL All-Star games. This is going to bring forth, a lot more concerts and shows during the summertime. I think that this is just going to be a great thing for DC overall. And I'm glad that, that Mario Bowser was able to step up to the plate and ensure that the team was able to stay in DC. And, I know that Ted Leonsis wanted to move the team to Virginia, but to me, I think that the way that he went about it was without really, giving the Mario Bowser and DC a chance to fully, show their plan. I thought that was, not in the best interest of DC as a city. And so, I'm glad that it all worked out. And even with, Ted Leonsis, them selling the building back to DC. So now that DC has full ownership of the building, so that, all those benefits and stuff, if they have an NBA All-Star game in the future, like, because Adam Silver said, when, not if, that we will be having All-Star games. I think that revenue source will be great for the city.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's time to show a lot more love towards DC, man. And really, it's a capital city, man. Like, we got to show more, love to DC. Like I said, I'm a Virginia guy, raised in Virginia, but when I was in high school, I took every moment I could, and I eventually lived in DC, man. It's like, because I fell in love with DC early on, man. So, DC teams need to be in DC. Like you said, Virginia move, I was never in favor, because just from the logistics of it. I mean, the traffic was a nightmare. The metro had been a nightmare.
It's already bad traffic over there in that Potomac Yard area. And, I talked to a lot of people, engineers and architects. They said that, that for them to try to put that big complex over there, it was going to be a stretch, just to be able to make that stuff happen. And I think that Ted Leonsis tried to move a little bit too fast for his own good. Like, he didn't check with the people in Virginia whether that was going to be able to go through. He didn't check with people in DC to get him a chance to match it. But I think that when you are a billionaire, you move in a certain way. And so I think that I'm glad that, it happened the way that it did, because it kind of gave him an opportunity to see how important that, that having that arena in DC means to Washingtonians, means to people from the area. And so, I think that he now comes out of that with a renewed sense of purpose and for, some of the things that he's trying to do within the community.
Oh, absolutely. Like, not only the Capital One moves, that I noticed that the outreach, obviously, reaching out to the community in DC proper, but, you saw a lot of outreach from the Wizards reaching into the Commonwealth of Virginia, Maryland, not just talking about Montgomery or PG. You have people going to Beemore, because obviously Bubs is from Beemore. So, I like the fact that they're reaching out and bringing the DMV together. Like I said, DC teams need to be in DC. Like, the Caps and the Wiz need to be in DC.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm a Virginia.
And look, we might get another DC team to come back to DC, with Mario Bowser putting in that effort to try to get the Commanders back. And so, I think that, what we're building right now in the sports capital, I think that this will be invaluable for the young people in this area to be able to see greatness. And hopefully we'll be able to put a winning product out there on all fronts.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna get there, man. Look, it's gonna take some time, but we are definitely gonna get there.
Oh, no. The Wizards are on the right path. They are heading in the right direction, and I have the utmost faith in Michael Winger and Will Dawkins and in the direction in which they are taking this franchise.
Oh, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I am 100% behind Michael Winger and Will Dawkins, because I think we finally have a very, very competent front office that is going to get the job done. We're definitely hit the right path, man. Finally hitting that reset button and putting everything in place the way they have. I'm very impressed. Like I said, people kind of nitpick here and there, but to me, they've done a great job so far, and I'm very, very excited to see not only how they attack the trade deadline, but next couple drafts are very, very important. And like I said, how Will Dawkins and Michael Winger both have attacked these previous two drafts. Very excited to see what kind of young talent we can bring in the nation's cap. So, you already mentioned it. The Commanders might be back in DC. I'm definitely looking forward to that, man, because that's my team, man. So, hey, man, appreciate you coming on tonight. before we roll, like I said, I see you all the time, man. Like I try to catch you when I'm down there, man. But how can people catch you, man?
Oh no! Hey, look, man. I had a lot of stuff going on with the election and writing with that stuff. So I took a little bit of a break afterwards. But when 2025 starts, I'm gonna be back down there at Capital One Arena for every home game, and really trying to write about a team that is showing a lot of promise. So I'm excited for the future of the Wizards, and I feel like there's a rejuvenation with with everything around the team, with the way that the team's covered, the way that the players are playing, and the way that the fans are interacting down there at Capital One Arena. I think that the spirit is high, and as long as they keep providing a winning product on the floor, I think that the momentum will carry over for us.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%, man. Like I said, it's always fun chopping it up with you down there, man. So hopefully I'll catch you down there.
I appreciate it, my brother Brandon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Like I said, you've been a big supporter of mine over the years, man. So definitely appreciate it.
Of course, man. I see where you're taking off with the Lock On Wizards, man. Look, this honestly is the premier Wizard show that I listen to. So look. You got the best show in town right now as far as covering the team. So I just want to continue much success to you, and look, hopefully the team will keep rising with us, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate that, man. So definitely appreciate you, my brother. All right, man. We're gonna catch you guys next week. Obviously the next game will be on Saturday, so I'm gonna go ahead and cover that on Sunday. But everybody have a blessed weekend. If you drink, smoke, don't smoke and drink and drive, man. Definitely do it at the house, man. Definitely be safe this weekend, everybody. So again, definitely shout out to my special guest tonight, Troy Haliburton. Always a pleasure, man. Everybody enjoy your weekend. Have a blessed one. Hail to the Wizards and peace. See you guys on Sunday.